So I like to mix things up. So we're going to start standing. And for now, roll your shoulders around and back. Start to be aware of your posture, keeping your chest proud, and shoulders round and back. Let's roll them the other way. And relax. Excellent. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose. Excellent. Exhale. One more time. Inhale, lift. And exhale. Turning your head side to side. Let's just check out how the neck is feeling today. Sometimes you sleep on it a little funny and it's not good. One more to each side. And then from the chin and your face facing forward, tilt a ear down to a shoulder, relax the arm, relax, relax. Half circle forward and over to the other side. So make sure you don't lean forward, but you're still nice and square, shoulders over hips. And do that rolling a couple of times. This is my favorite neck one. And coming back to the middle. Excellent. Let's take a deep breath here. Clasping your hands and lean over to one side. And I'm even going to push my hips the other side. Inhale, lift. Exhale, over to the other side. Inhale, lift. And down. Excellent. Take a moment and swing side to side. Really loosening up through the lower back when we do this. Excellent. Slowing it down, and together. So my feet are about 2 fist distances apart, and I want you to just rock forward and back on your toes. And when you come up at the top, don't allow the heels to splay out. You want to stay up straight. One more time. Pause at the top. Oh, we got some balance. Losing my balance. You can tippy toe and down. Excellent. Wiggle the toes and wiggle the ankles. And last one. Excellent. So we're going to start with our main balance sequence. The first thing I like to do is really concentrate on the foot, the balance, the standing. So I'm going to just turn sideways. So what I do is I put a heel down and I stretch my foot as long as it can go. And then I grip the toes into the floor. And I don't know if you can see, but it's lifted the arch of my foot off the floor. So I keep pressing down with the heel and the toes. So I have that little grip. Excellent. Shoulders down and back. I'm going to shift my weight to the right leg, lift the left, and then get that other grippy toes and lift. One more to each side. I tend to look in the distance at a focal point. Excellent. Go back to the first side. We're going to hold it here, clasping underneath the knee, pulling up towards the chest, fighting our balance. Take one deep breath, hug the knee in, and relax. Other side. And I know I always look down to my feet, but you know what? My feet are always going to be there. So it's better to look up and look into the distance, hugging that knee in and relax. Excellent. Let's add on a little bit. Hugging the knee in, and I'm going to release it. And I'm going to tilt out to the side, back to the middle, and down. So I'm going to come in and get my balance, out to the side, in and down. Excellent. I'm going to play with those arms. So I'm going to reach up, reach out, reach up, and down. Reaching up, pull in through the belly as you move through these. So we got the whole core working. Let's add on a little bit. I'm going to sink down on my heels mainly. Come up on the toes, just like we did before. So the heels are not out, they're in the middle. Let's put the heels down. And as you lift, as you extend, and lift, and lower. Excellent. Put that all together on the other side. So I'm squatting, I'm up on my toes for just a pause. And then I take my heels down. I'm going to lift in one smooth motion up, out to the side. Keep the breath flowing and down. Excellent. Let's do that a couple more times. Up on the toes, keeping your chin lifted and down, lift up. And I'll just show you the last option. You could tilt out to the side, or you could keep the knee up, but you could still use the tilt back to the middle and down. I really like to challenge my balance. So if everything is going well, then I add that little bit more. If it's not going well, I choose one of those other options. And down. One more to each side. Sinking, up on the toes, down on the heels. Lift all the way up, right into the knee lift. Your option is to stay here or that other one. And I'll show the other one on the other side. Last time, I'm sinking. I'm still pulling my belly button in. I'm up on my toes. Sink to my heels. Lift up. Reach to the side. Lift and lower. Excellent. Take a moment. Stretch out to the hips. I can actually feel my hips popping, which is a good thing because it just lets more air in. Excellent. I'm going to come to the top of the mat. Just take a couple of breathing and forward folds. Take a deep breath up. Exhale, forward fold forward. Soften through the knees, looking through your ankles, and lift all the way up. You can curl your hands on your thighs. And one more time. Exhale, tilting from the hips. And as we hang here, I want you to think of the crown of your head facing the floor. So your eyes are looking through your ankles. And from here, you can choose, if that's not comfortable, to stay a little higher, or hands on your shins. Knees are wherever feels comfortable for you, because hamstrings could be tight. If it's available to you, clasp your elbows and hang over in a rag doll. So really accentuating the stretch through the back line of the body. Take one more breath here. Soften as you exhale. Allow the hands to go down, bending the knees and coming down to the knees. Take one moment, fold back into a narrow-kneed child's pose. Just taking a little break. And then come down onto your stomachs, onto the floor. Right away, we're going to work the back line of the body. Hands can be stacked, and then your forehead on top of them. As long as you keep your gaze looking down so that it's a little more neutral in the back of your neck. So from here, I've lengthened my legs. I might even try to inch them out. And they're very long, almost straightening through the knees so there's no bend there. Take a deep breath. Exhale, lift the legs, contracting through the glutes and almost thinking about your lower back contracting as well. And lower. One more time. Exhale, lift. I'm lifting with straight legs, so it's my knees off the floor, but it's coming from my hips, and lower. So we're going to add the legs back in, but for now, leave them on the floor. Let's take our arms out in front. Thumbs are up or facing down. My eyes are facing down. I'm going to take a deep breath. Keep the toes on the floor. Exhale, lift. Head and shoulders. Now this is really hard because it's adding that extra weight. Now if that doesn't feel comfortable, bend your arms here and lower. Take a deep breath on the floor. Exhale and lift. I'm just going to check my messages on the chat, make sure everything's still going okay. Okay, it's good. And wherever you are, do that one more time. Exhale, lift. And I'm trying to pull the shoulder blades back a little bit and lower. Okay, take a little break. Just 2 or 3 with the legs. So I'm lengthening and squeezing, relaxing the head as much as you can. So the top part of the body is really heavy. One more time with the legs. Stretch and hold, lift. Think about pressing the backs of your knees up to the sky. And relax. Excellent. Next posture, next version is with the hands out at shoulder height. Still looking down to the floor. Take that deep breath. Exhale, lift head and shoulders, and lower. So as long as you're still breathing, you choose whether you want to inhale on the lift or inhale on the ground. See if you can envision that lowest rib is what's on the floor. But other than that, your chest, your other ribs, your shoulders, they're lifted. One more time. Squeeze, pause for a minute, stretch the arms, stretch the fingers, and lower. Take a little break with the head and shoulders. Lengthen those legs, deep breath. Exhale, squeeze, and lower. Exhale, squeeze, lift. Try to point the toes that little bit more, and lower. One more time with the legs. Exhale, lift. Squeeze, 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 and lower. Exhale. We've got one more position for the arms. So I want you to take your arms down by your hips and the thumbs are down, just gracing the floor. I'm going to take a deep breath. And as I exhale, I'm going to squeeze, and I'm squeezing my arms up as well. So I'm going to work a little bit of the triceps. Relax down. And then I take everything up, moving my arms as high as they can and down. Lift, lift, lift. Squeeze the hands together as well. Let's do that one more time because I forgot to give you that cue. So the whole thing is happening. I'm lengthening my hands out and I'm squeezing them together and I'm lifting. Ooh, lots of things going. And relax down. Let's relax those arms. Bend your knees, flex your feet. And we're going to do the same thing with the feet in this direction. One last time. So I'm going to squeeze and push my feet to the ceiling and relax. Squeeze and lift. And relax. Last one. Squeeze it up there. Hold it. Push, flex the feet and relax. Lovely. We're going to gently push back, and I'm pushing almost like a little tricep push-up. So once I get up high, I take my knees wide and sink the hips back because I want to round out the spine. And I'm tucking my forehead in, so it's almost like the crown of my head touching. Get a greater stretch through the back. Let's take a couple of breaths. And if at any time you want to pause for water, by all means, get your water. Water is excellent, and sometimes I forget to cue people to get water. All right, coming up, let's come into our tabletop position. To start with, we're pressing into the floor, so I'm not sagging. I'm pushing up through the floor, and I want you to pull the belly button in. We're going to start out with bird dog. So I lengthen one arm and the opposite leg. I'm still looking down to the floor, and then I'm going to come in. And I switch to the other side, and I'm still thinking about pressing into the floor, so I haven't sunk down and down. So I'm looking down to the floor, but my arm is lifted shoulder height with the thumb pointing up, and I've got my leg straight and toe pointed coming down. We're going to do one more time. And come back in. I'm going to show you another option that is free to use. I come into a knee plank. And what we're going to do here is the same thing, but I want you to push the top of one foot into the floor, and I'm going to lengthen it and lengthen the other arm and come in. So I'm pushing the other foot on the floor, lengthen and stretch. Keeping the wrist underneath the shoulders. Now, if that feels a little uneven or unsteady for you, then by all means, come back up into having the knee directly underneath the hip. We'll do a few more of those. For me, I always chart with one leg or one arm, test it out, and then lengthen. One more each side. And switch, remembering to pull the belly button in a little bit and down. Excellent. Narrow kneed child's pose. Sink back just so you can give your wrists a little stretch here. Beautiful. All right, we're going to come into a plank, and you can choose if that plank is same starting point from your knees or your toes. Wherever we are, we're pushing into the ground. Oh, another option is to do it from your elbows if you're having any wrist discomfort. So I'm lengthened here and I'm breathing. Hold it a few more seconds. I'm looking at my clock. Excellent. Now I want you to roll to one side and lift up. Option to put a knee on the floor, trying to keep this shoulder over top of the wrist, and I'm going to lift the hips up, or from here. Another 3 seconds. Beautiful. Face back to the floor. So we're thinking about lengthening the legs, pushing the backs of the knees to the sky, and slowly switch to the other side. Remembering the option could be to have a knee on the floor or to lengthen. Can't see the clock this way. 2 more seconds and flow back. Wide knee, child's pose. Sink back. I'm gonna roll my wrists. Excellent. Let's come back into a tabletop position. All these wires. Okay. So in our tabletop position, I want you to pull your belly button up. We're going to curl the toes under. Maybe move my hands just a little bit closer in. So before they were out here, now they're going to be a little closer in. Pull the belly button up, and I want you to lift your knees up off the floor just half an inch. And then flatten out the back. So not rounded, but flatten. One more breath and lower. Excellent. Take that little break. I'm going to stretch back. And then I come forward. Coming back in, we're going to do it 3 times in total. I'm going to take a breath and then press in through my hands. And once I get it, then I think about flattening the back a little bit as opposed to round. Keeping my knees low. Long neck, so I'm not scrunched in. And lower. One more time, stretch back. Even rolling the wrists if it feels good. All right, here we go. Make it a good one. I know you can do this. Deep breath, press in. Press up. Fingertips are pressed into the mat. I'm going to flatten out a bit. That means I'm looking a little bit in front, but that's okay, as long as you're not looking up. Take a deep breath and lower. Whew. Uncurl the toes. They may need a little rubbing because they were bent under. And then I'm going to have you stretch out this time in our long, long child's pose. Take a couple of breaths. Last time. Excellent. Let's come up into a seated position, but where you still have lots of room behind you. We're going to do a couple of boats. My feet are hip distance apart as opposed to together, which would allow my knees to go out. Nice flat back, and I'm going to lift my gaze. And to start with, I'm going to sink my body back with a nice flat back, and I'm clasping here. And then I lift. I'm still trying to keep the flat back and lower back. Maybe lift the arms and come up onto the toes so they're just barely touching the floor. You can choose to lean back a little bit more if you want, and lift. Let's come back. Stretching out, thumbs are lifted, and you can choose one leg or both. And if you're twitching a little bit, that's okay, that's good. Take a deep breath and come forward, lift. We'll do that one more time. So you pick where you would like your boat to be. It could be extended legs. I like to wrap the legs out so my heels are together. But if I start to lose it, I want you to come back to the level just before. Coming forward, place the feet together, really stretch out into this beautiful butterfly, giving a roundness to the back now, so it has a chance to just release and let the shoulders fall. I'm moving a little bit side to side just because it feels good, but I'm not using momentum. I'm just leaning, and then I pause, and then I'm going to lean the other way, and I pause. Excellent. Let's come back up into the nice tall seated position, and then round the back. So I'm rounding the back totally in a C curve. I might even wrap cross my legs, and I want to roll back and not let my head touch the floor. So when I roll back, I just come to the shoulders, and when I come back up, don't let your feet touch the ground. So there shouldn't be any clunking. If so, you need to reach a little further forward to get more of a round ball. If it feels okay, when you get to the top, you stay curled, but you can extend one leg. And then extend the other leg. So go at your own pace, under control. If it's within your practice, fully extend. But I don't let the feet touch the floor. Oh, almost lost it there. One more time, up and down. So I'm pausing here. And this time when we come down, I'm going to put my feet on the floor. Just changed my mind. I want you to roll down as slow as you can. So I'm rolling down, and I'm going to use my hands, but there'll come a point where you almost feel like you're going to lose it. And that's where you need to struggle through and think heavy, long legs. Oh, I rolled a little through it. And then I'm down on the floor. Excellent. Bending our knees. Put your feet to the edges of the mat and take a little stretch break here when we're turning our knees from side to side. Excellent. Feeling the stretch through those obliques. One more to each side. Excellent. Bring the feet back together. And I'm going to press the lower back in. I do a little pelvic tilt and now anterior tilt. So there'll be a little gap and then a little tilt. One more time with the gap. And this time we're going to keep the pelvic tilt and lift up into our bridge. If it feels more comfortable, you can bring your feet a little closer and squeeze those inner thighs together. Neck is long on the floor. Take a few pulses at the top. So I'm not pulsing with my belly. I'm pulsing from squeezing the glutes. Keep breathing. Do you think about the glutes contracting? You almost have to concentrate on, focus on what muscle you want to do it. One more time, pause at the top. And we're going to roll down one vertebrae at a time. Pausing with the hips on the floor, but I want you to keep that engaged. Lift your heels to your toes, and we're going to pull it in and come down to a tap. So we're taking a break, but not all the way. We still have some activity happening. Last time, a little hug. And this time the feet are going to come down to the floor and right away start that pelvic tilt, curl all the way up and push up. So this time take your legs out, in, down, and squeeze. Out, in, down, squeeze the glutes. Try not to push those hands on the floor. And think about, am I squeezing as high as I can go? Whoa. Am I keeping the hips lifted as I let my knees go out and in? Am I still breathing? Are you cursing me in your mind? Oh, just kidding. keeping the feet level on the floor, even when you take your knees out, so I'm not rocking onto the edges of my feet. One more time. And then we're going to roll down one vertebrae at a time. And right away, I lift to my toes and I'm pushing lower back to the floor, and I'm going to squeeze in the knees. And now we're into our reverse crunch. To start with, it still looks the same. I'm moving from my hips, but at the top, I pull the knees in a little closer and I get my hips off the floor. But here, my knees don't move. The angle doesn't move. It is me lengthening through my hips. So I'm going to show a few more options here. This is the option with the bent knees. You can choose to keep the bent knees on the hug in and lift, and maybe you choose to extend the legs out or just reach that little bit further. So you choose. If you lengthen your legs, the higher the feet, the easier it is. So you could keep your legs lifted. Ooh, which says I'm having some trouble with my connection. I hope we can keep going. Don't hold your breath. And this is the last time with the legs out. And now if you can, I want you to lift your legs here. Now it's okay to have a bend in your knees because everybody has different mobility and flexibility in their legs. And from here, I want you to lift your toes to the ceiling and pause there so there's a gap, and then relax. Lift and hold, squeezing all through the core and lower. So I'm definitely not using any momentum, stretching my legs up and down. And it sounds funny when I talk, when they're up there. 2 more times. Lift, lift, lift. Oh, and down. 1 more. Hold at the top. And lower. Excellent. Feet on the floor. I want to give the hip flexors a little break here. Hands are going to go at the temples and we're going to lift. And then I want you to contract or squeeze to one side. And then I'm going to come back to the center, go to the other side. So your option is to take a break in the middle and put the head down and then lift and squeeze through the obliques. Or you can keep your head lifted in between. I want you to think about pulling lowest rib down to the hip on each side. So it's very thoughtful. There's no momentum. If your head gets tired, by all means, put it in the crook of your elbow. So I have my fingers on my shoulder, and when I lift, I'm lifting by pulling my fingers, not jerking on my head with my elbow. I'm exhaling as I squeeze. 1 more to each side. And down. Excellent. Take a little break with the head, turning it side to side. Let's bring those knees up, and I'm going to bring the arms up. So starting in, it looks like bird dog, but I guess when we lie down, we call it dead bug. We're going to stretch one arm and the opposite leg. I'm trying to keep the other hand directly over top of my shoulder. Now your option is to do this with straight legs. Or that other option is with bent knees. You can tap the floor, or you could extend the leg out. Next level is to do this with your head and shoulders lifted. I am keeping my shoulder blades off the floor, except for the bottom edge of my, oh, got the wrong arm and leg, the bottom edge of my shoulder blade. That's how high I'm crunching up. 1 more each leg. And the other one. Slowly, slowly roll down and hug those knees in. Great job, everyone. So we're going to have a beautiful stretching segment. And the first thing that we're going to do is stretch out the core. So I'd like you to lengthen the legs, take a deep breath and stretch long like you were just waking up in the morning. And as you exhale, relax your elbows and your hands down to the floor. This time when you inhale, I want you to stretch right arm and right leg. So I'm going to inhale, and you get a bit of a side stretch, and maybe that top leg crosses a little bit over. So I'm doing a crescent stretch, and I relax down into the middle. Let's take the other side. Inhale long, and I'm contracting to one side, stretching through that side body, and back to the middle. Beautiful. Relax those shoulders down and back, and bend your knees. We're going to come into a nice hamstring stretch. Lots of variations for this one. So you can choose to clasp behind your thigh. The leg is soft, and this knee is pointed up to the sky. And then hug it in nice and close. Maybe as things release a little bit, you can hug a little lower, but make sure that you're not pushing on the foot to lift up your seats. I want your glutes to be gentle and fully relaxed on the floor. And that's going to mean your leg's not going to come as close, but I have a nice soft knee. If you'd like to go a little bit further, you can stretch out the bottom leg, and maybe that means this leg has to come up a little bit. That's fine. Go back to your other clasp, or maybe here. With each exhale, I'm going to just scan the body and make sure that you're relaxing your glutes. So with each exhale, everything softens into the floor, except maybe your arms and your hands that are doing some work here. One more breath, and hug just that little bit deeper for this last bit. Excellent. I'm going to soften, bend the other knee so that I can cross that top leg over at the ankle. My foot is a little bit flexed, and this knee is opening. I'm actually going to push on the inner thigh, or right in the hip, to lengthen through that hip socket. Now, it's fine if your knee is up here and you're working on that flexibility. You can still give it a little push, and then maybe over time it will open, but maybe not. Some people are just made differently. I got hips that open to the side, but God help me if I want them to go in. Take one more breath here. Excellent. Relax so you can make sure your hips are gently even on the floor, and we're going to reach through the keyhole into a nice figure four. Relax the top leg. Even relax through your belly. With each exhale, maybe hug that little bit closer in, and then on the inhale, it may come out a little bit. That's okay. I'm choosing that when I exhale, I'm thinking about squeezing out the air out of my belly. And when I inhale, I want to inflate the belly and the chest. And as I exhale, I squeeze it in. Maybe this time I'll hold it for a minute. And I'm wiggling my toes, and that reminds me to relax everything through my legs, my knees. One more breath here. And slowly relaxing. So I'm going to unclasp my hands and let that leg go down. Excellent. Let's do the other leg in our hamstring stretch. Being gentle, test the waters. Maybe it's here, and then I give it a little hug. Consciously relax the hips down to the floor so that a little bit of a lower back and your glutes are on the floor. Focus on that big exhale. So I find what helps is if I inhale through my nose, and when I exhale, I sigh out the air through my mouth. So it just activates the body's relaxation response, and everything just kind of lets go a little bit. So you try that at home. Excellent. I am going to try another deepening position because my hamstrings, as they took some time in this stretch, they relaxed a little bit more. That may not be the case for you, so just be mindful of your body, and some days are just different than others. If you've spent a lot of time, say, gardening or squatting and cleaning out cupboards, then they could be sore. Take one more breath in through the nose, big, and exhale through the mouth. Excellent. I'm going to relax the leg, bring the other one in, And this is where I cross my ankle over. I have a little bit of a flexed foot here. That just helps to protect the top knee if that's at all sensitive for you. Placing my hand on my inner thigh, and I'm going to press that away. Sorry, gotta get the microphone back on. Stretching through the hip flexor, because we did a lot of hip flexor even though you didn't realize it. Every time you have your legs up, the abs can't handle it all, so those hip flexor do some work. Take one more breath. Think heavy on the mat. Let's release that knee so it's just in a comfortable position. If you need to lift your head to reach behind the thigh, by all means do that. And then relax into it so my shoulders settle and that top leg comes down. I'm not consciously holding it up, I'm just relaxing. And I'm going to choose to take a deep breath. And as I exhale or sigh it out, I hug in a little closer. I'm relaxing the leg out as I take a deep breath and hugging it in. See if you could notice how the glute feels on this side. Each side of the body has a tendency to be just that little bit different, and that's normal, don't worry. One more big breath and squeeze, exhale. Excellent. I'm going to take my foot down to the floor. We're going to come into a spinal twist. So I'm going to lengthen that one leg and guide this top one across the body. And maybe you pause partway because you're enjoying that feeling in your outside of your hip. And when you get there, you can put this foot on top. Extend the opposite arm at shoulder height. And if you can, turn your gaze to look towards that extended arm, keeping both shoulder blades on the floor and maybe applying a little weight to the top of the knee. On each exhale, think about softening the bottom leg, relaxing through the glutes. If you, after a few breaths, feel that everything is relaxing and you'd like something a little deeper, by all means, bring the knee a little closer up to the chest and twist a little bit more, or fully extend that leg. Let's take another slow breath cycle here. Relaxing down to the floor. Excellent. Bring your gaze back to the ceiling so your neck is straight, and then I'm going to bring my arm in and roll onto my back, or I'll switch to the other side. I'm going to hug my knee in to start to guide it across. And I'm going nice and slow because I like that extra stretch. Opposite arm out. If you'd like to put the top foot on top of the other leg, that's fine as well. It helps to keep the knee in alignment. I like a little bit deeper stretch, so I'll lean it down to the floor or put the hand on top. Bringing your mind back to the breath. So you're consciously willing through your mind to relax the muscles. Relax into the floor so you're not holding anything in contraction. One more slow breath cycle. Really big exhale. Excellent. Let's pretend I was on this side. So I'm in this position, and I want you to bring this arm over. We've come into a little fetal position, and we're going to push up into a nice seated pose. I'm going to come right away into a big straddle. So I'm thinking about my hips, and I want to make sure I'm getting all the angles. So here I am totally relaxed. And if that means your legs are closer, by all means, even leaning against a wall, because what I don't want you is having to reach forward. So I am tall through my spine, and I'm just leaning forward a little bit. So I have a nice straight spine. And I have my hands on the floor, or maybe it's up here, but try not to round. And we'll just relax here. So I've let my feet go. They're just hanging out. I'm not stretching and forcing. I have my feet just relaxed. So you can wiggle your toes. Take a deep breath here. And as you exhale, see if you can tip from the hips just that little bit further. Come into whichever position is good for you. I like to have hands on the floor for balance. Maybe you'd like to come down fully so you can support your head. My back rounds a bit when I get that low, which is not necessarily a bad thing. It's just not what I was going for in this pose. So let's take one more breath. Exhale, soften the legs, and start to press your way back up. Shake those legs in. And I'd like you to sit in a nice, comfortable position. It could be butterfly if you wanted to get a little extra stretch, or maybe it's cross-legged or out, whatever works for you. Take a deep breath out, squeezing shoulder blades together. And as you exhale, take your left arm over top, big hug, and round the spine now. So I am stretching through the top part of my spine. Think about if your shoulder blades were able to separate a little bit. Picture that gap right in between, right over top of the spine. Coming up, let's take a deep breath. And take the other arm on top. I'm starting with a hug, and then I inch those fingers back as big as a hug as I can do when I'm tall. And then I'm going to tuck my chin around the spine and kind of let it go forward. Not pulling any muscles. Pulling those shoulder blades a little bit apart. One more breath. Excellent. Untwist. Take a deep breath with the arms out. And from here, turn your thumbs down and clasp behind the back and pull away, or place your hands on your lower back and squeeze the elbows together, whichever works for you. I'm just going to get back on my mat. But I'm lifting my chin a little bit, and I'm proud, and I'm opening through the chest. Take a deep breath and relax. Excellent. Soften through the shoulders. And the other way. Let's do a little bit bigger in the arms. So I'm going to start with palms up and then palms down, lifting the chest, rounding the spine. A little bit more gentle than when we did the big hugs. One more. And lift. Let's sit nice and tall through our spine. Tilt the head over to one ear. Whoop. Tilt an ear over to the shoulder, and then start to turn your chin so it looks down. If you want a little bigger stretch, you can put the other arm on the floor, and then I'm going to tilt my chin up. One more time, tilting the ear down and lifting. So we have to come out of it. I'm going to put my chin so I'm facing this, the camera, and roll a couple of times. Practicing to come up straight again, and then I pause in the middle, tilting the ear to the other side, reach out the other arm, see how that feels in the side of the neck, and then maybe turn your head, your chin down, and lift, chin down, and last time lift. So come out of it by bringing your chin to neutral, relax the arm, a couple of half circles. Coming back to the middle. Sitting nice and straight, we're going to take 2 big breaths. Take a deep breath in. Exhale. And one more time, take a deep breath in. Palms together, thumbs together. Exhale as you're bringing the thumbs down to the third eye between your eyebrows, sending out joy and love and gratitude to everyone that is special in your life. Thank you so much.